But that ocean belongs to me. Because where is my ocean? I am entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars. In future.
Ladies and gentlemen, the threat that was made to the people of the Republic of Kenya, or let me say to the government of the Republic of Kenya, by the Ugandan President General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is something that cannot be dismissed. The Kenyan government tries to throw it under the rugs, but allow us to actually dive deep into this so that you will understand what the future holds between the diplomatic ties between these two countries, who are the mere giants of the East Africa, Uganda and Kenya. This sudden Uganda versus Kenya, we deserve the ocean language smells like an old school election politics rather than grand strategy. When regimes are aging and elections are near, they often reach for the oldest tricks in the book. They invent or revive a border grievance. They shout about national dignity. They hope citizens forget the price of bread. We have seen this script before, across Africa and beyond. Leaders cornered by youth, unemployment, corruption, and succession questions suddenly discover an external enemy or a historical injustice at the border. It worked for past strong men who used it to rally the flag and silence dissent. If you question the regime, you risk being branded unpatriotic. So when you hear threats about future wars over access to the Indian Ocean, you must ask yourself a simple question. Is this really about trade routes and law, or is it about manufacturing a patriotic crisis to escort an old order through another election cycle? This is something that Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is currently manufacturing in Uganda. But allow me to speak about Kenya also. The President of the Republic of Kenya has remained silent on this matter and left it to the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi to address, which he currently dismissed off and rubbed it off as a mere nonsense by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. But allow me to remind you that this is not the first time that the Kenyan territorial threats under the regime of President William Ruto have been threatened. A few months ago, news went viral that the Jubaland forces had invaded Mandera town and they had captured a school. Now, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni also wants to invade Kenya. What is it that they have currently realized about Kenya that now they feel that Kenya can be threatened and they can come into the country and occupy Kenya without any threat? It's because the President of the Republic of Kenya has become a man that only concentrates on businesses and looting instead of safeguarding the territorial borders of the Republic of Kenya. The Jubaland forces invaded Kenya. The Mandera County Governor, he himself, called upon the help from the President. But the President, together with his Interior Cabinet Secretary and also the Defense Cabinet Secretary, dismissed the said allegation. Until now, we don't know what happened with Jubaland forces invasion in Mandera. Are we together? When you go to Uganda, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is somebody that has negotiated for William Ruto several times. He has helped William Ruto maintain law and order in Kenya. Because during the Gen Z demonstration in the year 2024, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is the man that helped William Ruto with mercenaries that came to kill the Gen Z during the demonstrations. So Yoweri Kaguta Museveni knows that currently the president that holds power in the Republic of Kenya is a weakling. He is a man that actually does not hold the high regard of protecting the sovereignty of his country. Remember, this is a man that is currently in power, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He fought to take over the government of Uganda. He fought for him to actually become the president. So he knows the strategy, the blood and sweat that it takes to safeguard a republic. President William Ruto is a man that rode on the sympathy of the people of the Republic of Kenya. And that is why Museveni, knowing and even having having a close relationship with President William Ruto, he expresses himself so openly that the Indian Ocean belongs to him. Let me tell you something. Canada and the United States border each other. Or let me say United States and Mexico border each other. If today Mexico claims that a part of the United States belongs to it, then that will be an actual declaration of war. If United States declares either a town or a border town in Canada belongs to the US, that will actually be a declaration of war against Canada, and Canada will be forced to retaliate, will be forced to strengthen its forces along its borders to safeguard its territorial borders. But what does the Kenyan government do? It dismisses this thing. And that is how you realize now countries that border Kenya, they will start now invading Kenya. The other day it was Somalia Jubaland forces. Now Museveni is threatening us. And a few days from now, you will hear the Sudanese people pushing in on the Kenyan borders to try and take some Kenyan towns. Also, the Ethiopian government will start doing the same. Now, this tells you that the president in power is a weakling, and if he does not actually act to prove the strength of the Kenyan Defense Forces in safeguarding the territorial borders of the Republic of Kenya, then I tell you, it won't be long before an invasion happens in this country by foreign forces. Allow me to visit the international law. The Musevenis claim, what does the international law say about landlocked countries' rights to access the sea? Ladies and gentlemen, the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni recently sparked a storm and a potential diplomatic row with his controversial statement on access to the Indian Ocean. Now, Museveni, in an address on Sunday, November 9th, warned of a potential future wars in East Africa over what he claimed were landlocked countries being unfairly blocked from accessing key routes, not only for trade but also strategic defense. Does the Indian Ocean belong to Uganda in any way? That is the question you might ask yourself. Does Uganda in any way has rights over the Indian Ocean? Now let's get down to the international law. Uganda is a landlocked country. Inside there, Museveni asks, where is my ocean? You take this as a mere joke, but that is not a joke. This is a man that keeps on strengthening the Ugandan military every now and then, because he is a military man. Museveni is a general, is ranked as a general when it comes to the ranks of the military in Uganda. Now, while many Kenyans have been mocking Museveni for claiming the Indian Ocean, his argument might have some legal backing. According to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, Uganda, like many other landlocked countries, has a recognized right to access the ocean. And I read Article 125 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Landlocked states shall have the right of access to and from the sea for the purpose of exercising the rights provided in this convention, including those relating to the freedom of the high seas and the common heritage of mankind. To this end, landlocked states shall enjoy freedom of transit through the territory of transit states by all means of transport. Now, if Kenya in any way denies Museveni the right to transport his shipment from Mombasa, Museveni can move with these forces to try and capture the Indian Ocean. Now, the convention, however, notes that the terms and modalities for exercising freedom of transit shall be agreed between the landlocked states and transit states concerned through bilateral, sub-regional, or regional agreements. In addition, the convention gives transit states full sovereignty over the territory, allowing them to take all measures necessary to ensure that the rights and facilities provided for landlocked states shall in no way infringe their legitimate interests. And that is why I tell you, the government of Kenya shouldn't dismiss this. Now, in the event of a dispute between nations of the ocean access, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea also provides for a comprehensive framework. And I read, Article 287, Sub-Article 1, allows a state to declare its preferred method for resolving disputes such as the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, the International Court of Justice ICJ, and Hawk arbitration under Annex VII, or a special arbitral tribunal established under Annex for specific disputes. That is why I tell you, we shouldn't take this as just a mere threat. What did the ICJ rule on the Kenya-Somalia maritime law? Kenya and Somalia disagreed over the direction of their border in the ocean. Kenya was insisting on a parallel latitude boundary with Somalia, which the ICJ dismissed. However, even before the ruling was delivered, Kenya had announced that it would not recognize it. Are we together? So, this is a war that has been fought together. It has been fought before. Remember, right now, Somalia as a country still fight over the access to the Indian Ocean, because in Somalia, there are the Jubaland forces that actually have access to the Indian Ocean. There is the Somali itself as a country, and there is Somaliland. There is a fight that still is ongoing between these three independent states fighting over the access to the ports of Mogadishu. So when somebody declares a threat on your nation on matters territorial borders, it shouldn't be taken lightly. But how will it be taken with high regard with people like Musalia Mudavadi as the Cabinet Secretaries of Foreign Affairs? Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to hear your take in regards to this. But one thing is clear. These threats that are being made, it is a clear indication that the president who is currently in the position as the President of the Republic of Kenya has proven to our neighboring countries that he does not have the strength to control or fight for his country. Because let me ask you, did you hear Museveni utter such ones during the Kibaki regime, or during the Moi regime, or during the Uhuru Kenyatta regime? No. Idi Amin tried that nonsense with Daniel Moi, but Moi outplayed him and outsmarted him and fought and kicked out the Ugandan forces that tried to invade Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's up. Leave your comment on the comment section on what you think about this. See you in our next video.